All right, let's get started. Today we are going to be starting an altered book journal. So what you are going to need for this is first a theme. My theme is going to be exploring self-discovery and learning more about myself. So that's a pretty simple theme for a journal. You can have a theme of family or friends, or maybe even just the year that you're going through this year. You're going to need a book. I have this old science book I found in my basement while I was cleaning it out. I found some of my old college books. I decided to work with this one. And let's just talk about the book that you choose for a little while. So, you'll need a good book. You'll want it to be a pretty good size, so you'll have enough room to do some artwork on the pages. Like you can see, I open up the pages and I've got a big wide canvas to work on here. My book, if you look at the spine, you'll notice it is glued in the spine. It doesn't have sewn signatures, and that's what most books nowadays are like. If you want to see an example of sewn signatures, I have one right here. This is a handmade book, and if you look inside the pages, you'll see there's actually thread inside some of the pages where it's sewn into the binding, but most books nowadays just have glue along the spine, along just loose leaf pages, and they glue it together with a layer of glue right there. And that's important to know which kind of book you have, because if you have a book that has glued pages, it's going to affect some of the things that you can do inside your book, because that glue is going to be water soluble, and if you put a lot of glue or paint right inside in the crevice between your pages here, that'll get into the glue and it'll eventually dissolve your glue and it'll make your pages fall out. So we want to avoid that. Also, one thing you're going to want to know about your book is it's going to have this page that's kind of glued in to another page right there. See how those are connected? That is keeping the front cover on your book. So if you actually cut this part out, or if you tear this off or try to separate these two pages, it'll eventually make your cover just flop off of your book. And you don't want that to happen with this. We are going to be doing some collages in our book. So for our first day, in order to prep this book, what we're going to do is remove some pages. Because if we do collages in this book and add a lot of extra papers on it, and then try to close the book, it's not going to close the cover all the way. It's going to start closing like this and being slightly open, and that's not the look we want for our journals. So we are going to take a ruler and put it about 1/4 inch away from the middle page, and remember to skip that page that's glued together where they're still kind of attached, like 1/4 inch of glue putting those two pages together. We are going to put our ruler along the inside of the first page that isn't glued to another page. And I have a small cutting board here. I'm going to slide that underneath the page I'm going to cut, and I'm going to go through my book and I'm going to remove every other page. And I'm going to save these pages for later for doing more collages. So I'll just take an X-Acto knife and I will cut along that page, leaving about 1/4 inch of it. Now I'm leaving that 1/4 inch so that it reminds me when I do my collages to not go past that page. That way my glue won't get into that crevice and dissolve my binding. So you'll have a little flap in between your pages and it'll just look like that. You can also choose, if you don't have an X-Acto knife or a cutting board, you can just put your ruler in and kind of put it sideways. I'm going to put the metal side. I have a little foamy side that keeps it from moving around. I'm going to put the metal side or the wood side towards facing towards the edge of my book. And I'm going to take a page that I want to remove. I'm just going to tear it out like this. And that still gives you a little flap. It might be a little smaller than the other flap, but it'll remind you not to put your collages all the way in, and it'll give you a little space in your book for those layered papers to be glued on so that when you close it, it'll close nice and flush. And the last option you have for removing every other page is just going to be taking some scissors, lifting up that page you want to take out, and just cutting along the edge. And this one's a little more tricky and you might get a bit more messy of an edge, but that's fine because some of this book is going to be messy. That's just the way it's going to be. Life is messy, so our journal will be a little messy. And again, save these pages because we might want to use some of these pictures or words to collage with later. And those are the 3 ways to remove every other page from your book. I'm just going to keep going through. I might alternate different ways of taking the pages out. I kind of like the torn look, so I think I'll just be tearing out my pages with my ruler. And I'll show you a picture of what that looks like when every other page is out of your book. And then we will be ready to start our first collage or altered page next time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.